Hello and welcome to the mapping channel. This is the first video on this channel, so I feel inclined to explain to you guys what this channel is all about. Mapping is a Discord server that has been out for about a year now. It focuses on CSGO map making, but also has a ton of other stuff. On this channel we'll upload a bunch of content, events, devlogs, other videos and shenanigans we get up to on the server, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. And this first video is a devlog I'm making for my own map. In this series I'll be designing a map from the start to the finish, you know, from the base layout all the way out to the finished project. So in this first episode I will be building the first version of the map in Hammer, which is the CSGO map making editor. And I say we get straight into it. So I started off by thinking of a theme for the map, and the medieval one immediately came to mind. I started looking for gameplay inspiration with the medieval theme behind it, and right off the bat I found this picture. So this picture gave me an idea for the mid of the map. An horizontal catwalk for the CTs to hold the entire length of mid, with another CT passage right under that. This catwalk could be accessible by Ts if they push all the way through the mid, and maybe they gain access to some sort of other area, which ended up being B site. And they could also push in the lower part, but I had no idea where that was going. Now, I also decided to give these an easier way to go, so I gave them a path right here, closer to their original mid entry. Now, this mid was nothing new, but it was a good base for the map to begin with. So, next off I started deciding on what to do on the site A, and the whole site is based around this one tower here. This tower has a window where you can guard all the entrances to the site, but not really the site itself unless you jump on top of the window. Now, the site itself reminds me a lot of one of my older wingman maps. I didn't really do this on purpose, but it really just ended up looking like one of my old wingman maps called Wingman Statue, which is actually my very first map ever, so I guess it's a good way to pay homage to that map. Now, the main entrance for the terrorist was actually just a random idea I thought of when I knew that I had to connect short somehow onto the site, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have the short coming over the long area where the T's, like the T's main entry is, to just have something different. Now, this ended up looking a lot like one of the CT entries to a site in one of the maps we've playtested on the server called DE Caligula, that is made by Closure. Now, Caligula nowadays doesn't have the entry anymore like this. The bottom part is blocked, but it still is kind of similar to that one. Now, after having the tower and the entrance to the site, I just kind of decided to add this path connecting the bridge all the way to the tower, since it kind of made sense. They're both heaven areas and you could have a good fight here. So yeah, that's basically the idea for A. So I just messed around it for a bit and came up with a good site, I think. Well, a good base for a site at least. So the inspiration for B actually came from two separate maps. The initial idea for B site came from a map called DE Furnace and the CT entry to Furnace's B site. Now, later I realized that this is actually really similar to a map that has been playtested on the mapping server a bunch of times. So I wanted to have a similar T entrance to my B site, and I started designing it around these two maps. Now, this window here was first purely a nade window that you could throw nades from and get, you know, a better setup onto the site. But later I also wanted you to be able to boost someone onto the window and then shoot from there. And after I thought about it even more, I realized that I could just have it as a normal accessible heaven area for the Ts. Now, the B side itself is a bit more complicated. I really didn't have any idea on what to do except for the site itself, but the CT area and the holding spots where the CTs would hold the site from were not really developed at all. And in the first versions that I tested, it didn't really play well at all. It was too hard for CTs to hold anything after the Ts had gotten through the initial choke point. And for Ts, it was really hard to plant the bomb, but we'll get to that later. Now, after I designed the layout of both A and B site, I drew concept art of them to see how the final design would look like. The A site concept art I drew in the back of my math notebook, and the concept art of B I drew in MS Paint. Now, after the concept art, I started working on the connecting areas between the sites and the mid. First, I did the area that is in bottom mid and connects then to A site, to CT spawn, and to the catwalk of mid. This area was a bit complicated to do since all of the different paths were on different levels and I needed to design something that connects them naturally. But I came up with a good idea. The top part of this connecting area is a bar and the bottom part is a wine cellar, and these two combined, it really makes sense for the area and for the medieval theme, and it is a bit clustered, but I think it will play fine, so we'll see about that. Now, after the bar, I decided the CT spawn, which wasn't really hard to do because the bar and the two sides really just connected into this one area, so pretty much just made the spawn and that's it. The T areas, on the other hand, were a bit more difficult, since timing wise, currently the Ts would arrive at the sites too fast, so I needed to delay them somehow. I designed the T areas again in MS Paint, so I drew concept art of them and posted them on the mapping Discord. I got a bit of feedback and removed the bottom left area there, you can see the courtyard. So I removed that and just, you know, built the whole thing in Hammer after that. So this fountain area here is good for mid setups and works as a good rotate between the sides and the main rotate for T's. After all these areas were done, I was ready to do a bit of a playtesting session to see how the map worked. This is Olaf. Olaf is another mapper from the mapping Discord server, who just so happens to have around 6,000 hours in Hammer, whereas I only have around 600 hours in Hammer. So you can probably guess that he knows what he's talking about when it comes to mapping. Now, you might have seen that there are a couple of areas on the map that I did not discuss in detail. Well, in actuality, there's really only one big area I didn't discuss, and it's this house type of area in the top of mid. Now, this house was built here after the playtesting session with Olaf. So before I built the house, the mid was really CT dominated. The CTs could easily just throw one smoke into the T entrance of the mid and then just rush into A short themselves to get a lot of map control. So this was mainly built to avoid that. Now the T's could push into this house and hold A short from there and then get the map control themselves. CTs can still stop them getting there by just shooting them while in the crossing towards the window. And if the T's smoke this area, you can still see from the catwalk to the terrace side catwalk over the smoke, so you can still guard the entrance to the window. Now, another thing I got feedback from Olaf was the B site and multiple areas there actually. So first off, planting the bomb was kind of hard, so how did I fix that? I added this one crate here. This crate allows for better cover from CT as well as this arch area here. And also I added this other arch area here that is called backside to give the CTs better cover when holding the site from the site. Now, as well as these changes on B, I did one little change on A, which is to add a crate here too that allows for better planting. This crate wasn't really thought out that well, and I saw that when playtesting later with my friend that it just was a bit too OP. But again, we'll see about that later. And with that, I had the finalized layout and I was ready to publish it on the workshop. The map is currently on the workshop and you can play it if you want to. I will also host a playtesting session someday in the future on the Map Inc. Discord server, so be sure to join that if you want to check it out. And well, join the Discord anyway, it's a lot of fun. So that's it for the first part of this devlog series, so be sure to join the Discord and I'll see you guys in the future.